Yo, 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 yo. Yo, yo. What's good with it? It's the homie Mac. Music, art, culture, knowledge. Thumbs up, give me the likes. Thumbs up, give me the likes. Hit that watermark in the corner. It should be on the bottom. What? You're right. Bottom right corner, you're right of the screen. So you can subscribe to all this magnificent content over here at Mac TV. Music, art, culture, knowledge. Thumbs up, give me the likes. Thumbs up, give me the likes. So I've been on a roll. You know, I've always been a reader. One dynamic I wanted to add to Mac TV, music, art, culture, knowledge. I'm heavy on the knowledge part, so I added the Mackin' with Mac. Mackin' with Mac book review series. The book I want to review is 1984. Shout out to my dad. My dad says I review too many classics, but I feel like classics, there's no... When it comes to classic literature, it's ubiquitous in culture. It's infinitely relevant. It's usually even more relevant in the present than it was in the past. But what did William Faulkner say? The past is never the past. Or is it the past is never in the past? Something like that. I know you like my pseudo-deep voice. Poignant, you feel it. 1984 was written by none other than George Orwell. George Orwell. He was a Brit, novelist, political activist, a lot of social commentary. His government name was actually Eric Blair. A lot of y'all didn't know that. His government name is Eric Blair. Pseudonym George Orwell. George Orwell is easily one of my favorite writers. Even with my bars, like he's influenced me not only as a writer, but as a MC. He wrote a book called Why I Write, and he just really gave me a lot of insight on writing styles and how to pull on the heartstrings of people and just how words have a texture and a color. They can be colorful and have a lot of texture and impact you. But that's a whole nother conversation. What else did George Orwell write? He wrote, obviously 1984, he wrote Animal Farm, and some other books, but let's get into Animal Farm. I'm not Animal Farm. 1984. The all-seeing eye. I feel like it's looking at me. And we all know the whole concept of the all-seeing eye came from the Eye of Horus. Or is it the Eye of Haru? Eye of Horus. Eye of Horus. Well, Horus is Haru. Let me make sure. I want to double check. Eye of Horus, I was right. Or Eye of Haru. All-seeing eye. But anyway, 1984, essentially, I want to talk about this book, but I don't want to give this book away. I don't want to give any spoilers. But I do want to talk about this book. The protagonist in this book is a man by the name of Winston Smith. Winston Smith is 39. To me, this takes place in like England. I know that they had like these makeshift colonies like Oceania, and a couple of other ones. I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head. It's been a minute since I actually read this book, but I had to go back over it just so I could get a gist for the theme and what I felt after, when I did read it. And if I have a deeper understanding now than I did when I read it in college. I don't want to give this book away, but I want to talk about the centralized theme. One of the quotes in this book is... Wait, hold up. Where is it? But if thought corrupts language, language can also corrupt thought. And one of the things in this book, I noticed how it was like everything was a psyop. And by psyop, meaning like mind control. Something to distort your thought process. Or really like almost like a lobotomy. Like I erase your understanding of whatever, and I put the understanding I want you to have. Like they use doublespeak. War is peace. Like what? But if you hear it, it gets to the point where what? War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. If that's not a mind of what is. But because it gets to the point where you literally strip the citizenry of any type of independent thinking. You heavily sway their thought process. It gets to the point where you can get them to think backwards and make them think it's forward. And if you can get a populace to think backwards and make them think it's forward, they're readily controlled. One of the things in this book, it's almost, this book is very prophetic because it reminds me of what was it? The Patriot Act. The Patriot Act that came about in 2001. It's either 01 or 02. It was a consequence of the pernicious acts of 9/11. So consequently, policy was changed. You pretty much don't have any privacy. We know where you are on your phones. You know who you're talking to. Reminds me of this AC Long song called, I think it's called "The Eyes Have the Walls Have Eyes," or some AC Long song. But it kind of showed me how, like, we're really, our privacy is pretty much gone. And it's done under the guise of protecting us. And some people will argue it's necessary. I'm not so sure about that. I feel like the more, they convince you to give up your freedoms in order of, and under the guise of protecting you. But I think a lot of our constitutional rights have been stripped from us and continue to be stripped from us. But in this book, it also, I feel like this book also inspired the movie Equilibrium with Christian Bale and Taye Diggs. But let me go there. Before I go there, let me say this. In this book, they have something called the thought police. The thought police don't want you making love. They don't want you to be passionate. They don't want you to feel feelings. If they find out that you like art or you're having sex, you're making love, if there's some type of political resolve that you have that is the antithesis to what they're trying to promulgate, that's your ass. And they'll kill you. They'll kill you, or they'll try to further your conditioning and break you down even further. Torture. What is it? Even in the movie Equilibrium, if they found out that you had art, if they found out that you loved someone, if they found out that you showed emotion, they would kill you. And I think this book set a precedent again for that film Equilibrium. If you have not seen Equilibrium, go check that out. I think Equilibrium is better than The Matrix, but that's just me talking. It's dystopian. A lot of the things that he said in this book it's happening as far as just technology and how there's this ubiquitous, ever-present surveillance that goes on everywhere. I mean, with this computer, with my phone, when we're walking down the street, you got cameras everywhere. Do these things deter crime? No. Is it all about mind control? I don't necessarily think so, but I think it could get to that point at some point. And again, with the thought police, if they found, they would scan your brain and see what you were thinking. And again, if your thoughts were not tantamount to the agenda that they were pushing, which is just like uniformity, making everyone a baseless, colorless, tasteless monolith that is readily controlled, they would further your conditioning or kill you in this book. One of the things that this book really showed me is just the power of language and how we use language to shape reality. Languages are markers for reality. Language gives us context for reality. But the thing that this book showed me is that language and wording can become extremely malleable, and they can be reversed to mean something that it didn't initially mean. Again, when I said war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength, that was the modus operandi or the chief maxim that was pushed to this whole community. If I can brainwash you, if I can rearrange your thought process and rearrange how you process reality, I can control you. And that's what the scary thing is about this. This book really also showed me with enough propaganda, with enough funding, anything can become true. Let me say that again. With the right funding, with the right propaganda, anything can become true. And that's scary. Because we're living in a time, it's kind of like Carl Sagan said, we're living in a time where it's my truth. This is my truth. It's to the point now where truth is not even a bias. Truth is getting to the point where nothing is objectively factual anymore. Everything just has a subjective semantical range. So it's like, this is my truth. This is what I feel. So it gets to the point where objective realities are null, are nil. It just gets to the point where if I feel it, it's real. And that's not sufficient. And again, like Carl Sagan said, we're getting to the point where we're getting away from factual data, objective reality, to pretty much coddling fantasy and making things to be what we want it to be. So I would think when I think about Facebook, social media, when I think about just media in general, I think one thing that George Orwell did not take into account that would happen was that the populace, the citizenry, would be active participants in their brainwashing, would become active participants in their pursuit of ignorance. And, like, people are willingly giving away their freedoms, don't want to think, don't want to read, want to be entertained. What they call it, the Emperor's Circus? We're caught up in the Emperor's Circus, the majority of us. And I remember reading the meme somewhere a while back, it said, think while you can. Think while it's still free. And I used to kind of brush that off like, it'll never get to that point. We'll never get to the point where they'll try to do brain scans on us and see what we're thinking and try to control our thinking. But I can't rule that out as a possibility. I mean, it would be very totalitarian, but that's the premise of the book. This book, it takes place in a totalitarian state. So where am I getting at with this book? I guess essentially, nourish your mind. Question things. Think for yourself. I think you should have a healthy curiosity. Don't just accept things that are foisted upon you. Read, think, research, laugh, cry, get pissed off. Challenge the narrative. Even if it's not, and that's another thing. Don't even just be swayed by the truths you want to hear. You know what I'm saying? Don't look up things to confirm your bias. I'm saying take a scientific approach to thinking. Scientific method. Fuck around, find out. Oops, I cursed. I'm not supposed to curse. Trying to stop cursing. But yeah, 1984 by George Orwell. Let me find another quote I really like to hear. Doublethink means the power of holding two contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously and accepting both of them. That's not how truth and reality works. It's almost like that's what they call it, this cognitive dissonance. And I think when people get caught up in their cognitive dissonance, they can be conflicted within themselves, and I think they can be controlled. They don't look for objective truth anymore. And let me find another one. Until they become conscious, they will never rebel. And until after they have rebelled, they cannot become conscious. I take that to mean that the greatest commodity that you have is your mind. What is consciousness? Being aware of your ecosystem, the functionality of your ecosystem, how to challenge narratives, how to think. If you can't think, you're readily controlled. If you're readily controlled, you're a sheep. This book also kind of reminds me of what Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. It goes into that narrative. But I want to say think or die.